The online debate over whether or not RPGs should be action or turn-based has been going on for 2 decades with no signs of slowing down. Love it or hate it, turn-based combat does have a place within the RPG experience. Personally, I love it. The amount of control it gives me over each individual character's actions only adds to the excitement of battle. When implemented properly, it can really keep you on your toes in an intense boss fight. For all of us strategists out there, though, who do like to methodically plan out each move, there are those who don't and prefer to have complete control over a singular character, being able to dodge, block, and roll, move out of the way from certain attacks, and that too can bring a sense of excitement to combat. But today I want to make an argument as to why turn-based combat shouldn't only be in RPGs, but why it needs to exist. Because love it or hate it, it has a place in the RPG experience, and I'm tired of pretending it doesn't. I noticed the debate really starting to ramp up during the PlayStation 2 era when 3D action games became more pronounced as titles such as Devil May Cry, God of War, and Kingdom Hearts rose to popularity. By the 360 and PlayStation 3 era, if your game was turn-based, it was pretty much instantaneously docked points, called archaic, and banished to the Shadow Realm for daring to exist. If you were a Japanese RPG, good luck trying to get any decent review scores. I get it. Many players who don't like turn-based combat often complain they don't have complete control over their characters directly. And I think this mindset has only increased with the rise of Souls-likes in recent years, since those put so much emphasis on dodging, blocking, and waiting for your chance to strike. This argument always seems one-sided though, because let's be honest, even if you prefer turn-based combat, chances are you have a favorite action RPG or series you are really drawn to playing or really enjoy. While there are some, I'm sure, that prefer action but who can still enjoy turn-based, there is a subsection of fans out there who only like action RPGs and hate turn-based games even exist. It never fails. A game like Persona 5 or Baldur's Gate comes along taking the RPG community by storm, only to have that very loud vocal minority come out of the woodworks and shout from the rooftop, "This game would be so much better if it was an action RPG." This infuriates me. After years of a drought in the mainstream RPG sphere, a developer finally gives us a turn-based RPG, only to be bombarded by this very side of the argument screaming, "Turn-based is outdated. If you want to hit the mainstream, you need to make it action." Sad part about it, these developers listen, and what was once a turn-based franchise is actionized to hit a mainstream audience. It happened with Final Fantasy, it happened with Dragon Age, and if rumors about Dragon Quest XII are true, it too looks like it's being primed to become an action RPG. Why are there so many people who hate turn-based combat though? There are 5 basic complaints I hear from critics of turn-based combat. It's boring, it takes too long, and I don't like not having control over my characters. These 3 I get, but the final 2 really grind my gears. The amount of times I've heard people say it's not realistic, your character isn't just going to stand there and wait to be attacked, is mind-boggling to me. It's almost as if these people don't understand what turn-based combat is. Let's address the elephant in the room. No video game fully emulates realism. You're not getting shot in the leg and then magically being able to walk it off as if nothing happened. This is to say, some suspension of disbelief does need to be practiced when playing games. The final argument I hear, which boils my blood even more, is that turn-based is an outdated system that was used because of technology back then. Action combat wasn't possible. Turn-based games were not compensating for technological limitations. This argument only shows how little research people have done on the history of RPGs. Hell, while Ultima and Wizardry were out there pioneering the industry with turn-based combat, Falcom was out there paving the way with the first action RPGs with such titles as Ys and Dragonslayer. This isn't to disparage anybody saying this, only to point out how often people get this side of the argument wrong. Turn-based combat was not a technical limitation, nor was it even meant to be taken as literally as if the characters were standing there waiting to be attacked. The idea behind turn-based combat was to give off the feeling of playing a tabletop RPG, or giving the player the feel of control over a group of characters instead of just a single player character. It was meant to replicate the feel of controlling a party of adventurers, each with their own unique skill sets and abilities. Richard Garriott, Andrew Greenberg, and Yuji Horii were inspired by Dungeons & Dragons, looking to bring these elements to computer games. Turn-based games have the DNA of tabletop games built into them. Just think, when you press that attack button, it's as if you're selecting your action, rolling your d20, and waiting to see if your attack misses, lands, or deals a critical hit. Much like with Dungeons & Dragons, players know, or should know, it's meant to replicate a real battle taking place, with each player character taking their turn to select their action they are going to take. Turn-based games were meant to simulate the feel of battle that took mere moments while letting you strategically plan out every character's move. This is to say, your brain is meant to fill in the gaps of what's actually happening during combat. That chunk of HP you took was your stamina decreasing, fatigue setting in, ever inching your character to that incapacitated state. Each attack you make to your enemy was them taking a hit in battle, or maybe even blocking your sword attack. Honestly, I feel like an idiot typing this, but it baffles me how many fans of the genre don't seem to understand this. I think it's crucial to establish if we're going to defend turn-based combat. If I don't bring it up now, it will likely be brought up in the comments section, so let's address the AI-controlled companions. Many people argue party members can just be controlled by AI, completely missing the point of wanting to have complete control over a party's actions. Let's be real, developers have tried to implement AI companions to varying degrees of success. While AI can work for action combat, I can't tell you how many times I've wasted countless of resources because of stupid AI. It drives me bonkers how many times items are needlessly wasted due to incompetent AI. I hate when I have a party member who tries to use an item, such as Donald in Kingdom Hearts, because Donald wastes everything in Kingdom Hearts. I also hate it when you're waiting to be healed and your AI companions, Donald, can't do anything other than cast fire when you clearly need to be healed. What? I just gave you a bunch of ethers. You used them up within the first 30 seconds of battle? You worthless piece of shit. I don't want you to help fight this battle anymore. If I had complete control over my party, I could have direct control over Donald's items and magic uses, eliminating these frustrating moments of dumb AI choices. Turn-based allows you to select the commands you want and be given control of how often, when, and if a party member uses them at all. This gives you a sense of control over everyone and how battle plays out, knowing where all attacks, resources, and spells will land. Love or hate it, turn-based is the only viable option we have in controlling a full party. What about Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII 13's combat? Those let you control each party member, right? Well, not entirely, or at least not in the way that having a full turn-based combat gives you complete control. Square tried to build a hybrid between the two, striving to blur the lines between turn-based and action. But at the end of the day, you're still relying on AI to do the heavy lifting for the party members you are not controlling. Final Fantasy XIII and Remake, though smart in design, still relies on AI to heal and buff. You are left at the mercy of your AI companions to use the spells you want them to use. There is simply no way to be able to control all party members at once, at all times. Even with Final Fantasy VII Remake's combat, which I really love, by the way, AI still controls the members of your party actively not controlled by you. In order to have the experience of controlling each party member, we need turn-based combat. It simply has to exist. It is the only option we have to give us true control over an entire party. I've even seen people offer a compromise to take the Gambit system from Final Fantasy XII for AI companions. While smart in design, it's not solving the issue of being able to control a party of characters in the heat of battle. Though this does solve the Donald problem we mentioned earlier and circumvents dumb AI plaguing so many action RPGs. I'd argue browsing menus and setting up skills for gambits for each character to use would become just as tedious as turn-based combat itself, especially where enemy strategies and abilities change on a whim. So we've explored some of the reasons people hate turn-based combat and made a case for why it needs to exist, but perhaps it's time we address how turn-based combat has room to improve, which in turn can make it more engaging and fun for those who find it boring. Turn-based games have become synonymous with grinding. The higher the level, the stronger you are. I think this is the main key reason as to why so many get bored with turn-based combat. While in an action game you can blow through an enemy with a few swings to level up, turn-based combat requires you to get into battle, select your attacks, wait for your characters, followed up by the enemy taking their turns for it to repeat. It's especially boring when you're just continually tapping the button just to use a basic attack. I almost always prefer turn-based RPGs that cap grinding to a halt. Naturally, Trails of Cold Steel does this very well. You'll gain the experience at a rapid amount until you hit the level the game wants you to be. At this point, experience comes to a screeching halt, and it would take you forever to level up. This is the game telling you, okay, you've leveled up enough at this point. It's not an under-leveling issue, it's a skill issue. It's now up to you to understand the gameplay mechanics and formulate a strategy to take down the boss at hand. Chrono Cross also does something very similar to this. You gain star levels that span across all party members. Participating in battle may give a character a few extra HP, strength, or speed stats, but not enough to make a significant difference. Both of these games let the difficulty come from the battle themselves, keeping you on your toes during a battle and making for some extremely rewarding boss fights. I can't tell you how exhilarating a boss fight feels when you're expending all abilities and strategies the game has to offer up. You're not cheesing your way through a boss, you are methodically planning out each move with a genuine struggle to stay alive. Shin Megami Tensei does this in a different way, but challenges you to understand the gameplay mechanics really from the beginning. There is a reason the Shin Megami Tensei games are often known as the big dick challenges of turn-based RPGs. Shin Megami Tensei forces you to play by its rules and uses all skills you have at your disposal. Those buff and debuff spells that you never use in RPGs, well, in Shin Megami Tensei, you're not only going to use them, but you'll know what each of these spells does. These spells aren't optional. They are required to win battles. Hitting an enemy with a spell, lowering its defense, and increasing your attack could be the determining factor of whether or not you survive the next attack or not. I'd love to see elements like this used even more. Imagine fighting an enemy who fully recovers his HP whenever you hit him because they always get to go right after each character attacks. What if the solution was to use a spell like haste on your main damage dealer while slowing the enemy down? This allows your character to get a couple whacks in before he heals, eventually leading to enough HP being depleted he's finally able to be destroyed. I'm not talking about small little gimmicks like this on just one boss fight either, but to actively plan out your boss battles around these mechanics, teaching the player to think outside of the box with all bosses and best utilize the game's mechanics to defeat the bosses. Chrono Trigger also does something similar to this with boss fights. During the fight with Magus, he will change the element he uses, thus changing the element he is weak against. There are enemies inside the castle that do something similar, nudging you to try something similar to Magus. You could even take this a step further by letting you switch the party members from active to reserve, much like Final Fantasy X, incentivizing you to use those reserve party members you'll never use in combat. But please make sure reserve party members receive experience too. Perhaps one of the most unique uses of RPG combat I've ever seen came from a game developed by a solo dev in which an enemy wiped your entire party out in one fell swoop, even while defending. In order to dodge the attack, you needed to put all party members in the back row. Its range could only hit the front row, thus avoiding damage altogether. It's small, fun little ways an RPG can make you think outside of the box that avoids tedium. I'd also highly recommend looking for ways to avoid random encounters with weak enemies. Metaphor ReFantazio has a great solution to this by allowing you to kill weak enemies with a weapon on the field without having to transition to a battle screen, saving you the time of waiting for that to load, selecting attacks, while still netting you the experience you'd otherwise received from battle. You know what's funny? For all the love it gets, The Legend of Dragoon isn't something I've seen replicated much. I'd love to see the addition system make a comeback, testing your reaction skills and throwing different buttons to simulate a counterattack, and successfully hitting the right buttons at the right time, blocking attacks, allowing you to continue your combo. Or on the flip side, counter an enemy to slash them back and deal damage, interrupting their combo. Xenogears and Legend of Legaia series had unique ideas as well, building up combos and unleashing devastating attacks on an enemy. It made battles fun, punchy, and rewarding. I think the reason they simply don't do this anymore is because of the length of these battles. Again, this could be mitigated by incorporating a system much like Metaphor had, keeping you at the right level, mitigating normal battles to a minimum, while letting the uniqueness of a similar combat system shine through intense boss fights. Yes, I'm pretty much universally arguing it's time to get rid of random encounters entirely. I'll agree, those are one thing RPGs don't need anymore. It's always more fun to see the enemies on the field and see how they interact with the environment. That isn't to say I hate random encounters, I just don't think they add anything to the experience anymore. This isn't to say they don't belong, or I don't get why they belong. This is to say, though, it is going to be a major contention point for many people. Another turn-based system we need to bring back are tactics games. There are plenty of XCOM-inspired tactics games from Miasma Chronicles, Valkyria Chronicles, Mario vs. Rabbids, but we don't see games like Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre anymore. These used to be a dime a dozen. Every RPG franchise seemed to have one, whether it was Final Fantasy, Suikoden, or Wild Arms back in the day. Outside of the Disgaea games, I don't really see this genre represented much in the mainstream unless it's a mobile gacha game, and that's a damn shame, because there is so much untapped potential here too. Turn-based games, whether they be more traditional turn-based combat or more tactics-like combat, need to revisit the classics and implement the job class again, maybe even allowing you to change your job class mid-battle. I don't understand why Final Fantasy stopped doing this in the first place. This really could add a level of depth to the combat system that is much needed to a turn-based experience. Most JRPGs as a whole seem to have abandoned the job class, and damn it, I'm making an argument to bring them back, instead of opting to make characters that fulfill that role. Perhaps they've done it because they feel it's too complicated for a casual audience to learn. I, for one, wish they would bring it back. Imagine a turn-based game with the depth and difficulty of Shin Megami Tensei, but using job classes that could add a level of strategy to turn-based combat while experimenting with new mechanics and possibilities. Overall, turn-based games don't need to be boring, and I hope I've demonstrated why both action and turn-based have a place within the RPG hemisphere. Just know when a turn-based RPG comes along, there is a growing faction of us who are wanting that turn-based experience. And that game may not be for you, and that's okay. There are plenty of other games out there on the market that you can try. Because truth be told, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, when Souls-likes fall out of favor, you too are going to find yourselves uploading a video to YouTube called In Defense of Souls-like Combat. Turn-based RPGs are starting to make a comeback though. The Persona franchise has seen the highest number it's seen in years, with Persona 5 hitting it into the mainstream and becoming one of Atlus's best-selling video games. Metaphor ReFantazio also did extremely well for Atlus. The Yakuza franchise, with Infinite Wealth and Like a Dragon, were able to transition from an action game into a turn-based RPG. Genre changes are almost unheard of in the video game space, yet the Yakuza franchise was able to successfully pull it off. And even in the indie space, we are starting to see turn-based games make a comeback with such hit titles as Sea of Stars, and the CRPGs making a huge comeback as well. So turn-based is here to stay. How long it's going to stay, who knows? But I hope that people can begin to see the quality that both turn-based RPGs and action can give to the RPG experience and why both are necessary. Let me know down below what you guys think. Do you guys prefer action combat or do you prefer turn-based? What are some of the solutions you have to make turn-based combat better? I'd love to hear all of your comments down below on the discussions talked about in this video. If you haven't done so already, consider giving this video a like and sharing if you can. It does tell the YouTube algorithm you want to see more videos just like this. Also consider hitting that bell notification as well as subscribing so you do not miss a video when it goes live. And be sure to check out the channel every Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday where we are live streaming games we are not playing for retrospectives. You can also follow me over on Twitch for those very same live streams. If you would like to help support the channel, you can do so by becoming a member right here on YouTube or checking out my Patreon, which will be provided down below in the description. Both will net you early access to my retrospectives. If you also would like to join the Discord server where you can meet like-minded gamers just like yourself, find groups of gamers to play video games with, and just overall discuss video games and make new friends, be sure to check over our Discord server down below in the description as well. Stay safe out there and stay happy, be happy, game happy. Spoons is checking out.